Alright, in today's video we're talking about the hardest playable characters in Slay the Spire 2. The cast in Slay the Spire 2 offers a ton of different playstyles, and that's part of what makes the game so addictive. Every character feels unique, every run feels different, but let's be honest, not all of them are built the same when it comes to difficulty. Sure, you can technically make almost any deck work if you're skilled enough, but some characters demand way more planning, precision, and brain power than others. So if you've just started climbing the spire and you're wondering why your runs keep falling apart, it might not just be bad luck, it could be the character you're using. In this video, we're ranking the hardest playable characters to master in Slay the Spire 2, breaking down what makes them so complex, and helping you figure out which ones might push your strategic skills to the limit. Let's dive in and see which characters truly test your deck building abilities. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. When we talk about the hardest playable characters in Slay the Spire 2, it might sound strange to bring up the Ironclad, because honestly, he is the complete opposite of complicated. That is exactly why he stands out in this conversation. While other characters demand tight combos, careful sequencing, and deep mechanical knowledge, the Ironclad is basically punch first, ask questions later. His game plan is straightforward: build defense, hit hard, repeat. You are not juggling 5 different mechanics or relying on fragile setups. You are building a wall and smashing enemies with it. What makes him feel so accessible is how clean his card design is. Take Barricade for example. It allows you to retain your block between turns, which means you can stack defense endlessly and become nearly untouchable in longer fights. Then you have Iron Wave, a simple one-cost card that deals damage and grants block at the same time. It is efficient, flexible, and fits almost any build. Perfected Strike is another beginner-friendly powerhouse, scaling its damage based on how many strike cards you have, including your starting ones. It rewards you for not overcomplicating your deck. And Body Slam? That card turns all the block you have stacked into raw damage, creating an incredibly satisfying synergy loop. Even his more explosive options are easy to understand. Pyre increases the Ironclad's energy by 1, letting you extend turns and unleash bigger combinations without needing intricate setups. Yes, there are high-risk, high-reward builds involving health manipulation, but at his core, the Ironclad remains the most straightforward character in the roster. In a game where some characters feel like you are solving a math equation every turn, the Ironclad feels like driving a tank straight through a wall. And sometimes, that simplicity is exactly what makes him so powerful. The Silent is where things start to feel less like brute force and more like controlled chaos. If the Ironclad is about smashing through problems, the Silent is about weaving through them. Her complexity comes from how heavily she relies on synergies, especially with discard and Sly mechanics. You are not just playing cards, you are cycling them, throwing them away, triggering bonus effects, and carefully chaining interactions together. When everything clicks, it feels brilliant. When it does not, it feels like you are trying to solve a puzzle mid-fight. The classic discard and Sly build perfectly shows this difference. With the right setup, you are discarding cards on purpose because doing so activates powerful effects, free plays, or bonus damage. Tools of the Trade becomes the engine that keeps everything moving, giving you consistent discard value each turn. It is not strictly mandatory, but it smooths out your strategy dramatically. The tricky part is that you will not always get the ideal pieces. Unlike the Ironclad, who can usually rely on raw numbers and simple scaling, the Silent often has to adapt on the fly if key synergy cards do not appear. That flexibility requirement is what pushes her higher on the difficulty scale, and it does not stop with discard builds. Abrasive opens the door to a dexterity and thorn strategy, letting you punish enemies simply for attacking you. Pair it with strong block generation, and suddenly you are reflecting damage while staying safe. On the other hand, poison builds offer another layer of strategy. Bubble Bubble combined with poison cards lets you stack damage over time efficiently, and Accelerant can triple the damage output of those poison effects, turning slow pressure into devastating bursts. The Silent rewards planning, synergy awareness, and smart adaptation, making her a clear step up in difficulty compared to more straightforward characters. The Necrobinda is where things start to get truly demanding in Slay the Spire 2. On paper, she sounds almost broken. She begins every run with Osti, her loyal left hand, who absorbs all incoming unblocked damage for her. In simple terms, Osti functions as a second health bar. If you can consistently increase Osti's health and keep it alive, the Necrobinda can feel practically immortal. You are not just managing your own survival anymore, you are managing a separate entity that stands between you and defeat. That extra layer already pushes her far beyond the simplicity of the Ironclad or even the Silent. But here is the catch. Unlike more straightforward characters, you cannot rely on just one gimmick. If you depend entirely on Osti without understanding the deeper card interactions, your run can collapse fast, especially later on. The Necrobinda often feels weak in Act 1 because she needs synergy to truly function. Countdown can apply Doom at the start of each turn, which sets up Sleight of Flesh to deal damage whenever you apply a debuff, including Doom itself. Then Misery spreads those debuffs further, multiplying the value of every application. You are not just playing cards, you are layering effects in the correct order to create scaling damage. And the scaling can become absurd if you manage it properly. Time's Up deals damage based on how many Doom stacks an enemy has, rewarding you for stalling and building pressure over time. That is where summon cards and Dirge come in. Dirge not only summons Osti, but also adds souls based on the energy you spend, strengthening Osti and improving your deck's consistency. Grave Warden adds block and another soul, making it one of the most stabilizing tools in her kit. The Necrobinda demands planning, sequencing, and long-term thinking. When played correctly, she can feel untouchable. When misplayed, she can feel fragile and underpowered. That sharp contrast is exactly why she belongs among the hardest playable characters in the game. The Defect is where Slay the Spire. But 2 truly starts to feel like advanced coursework. On the surface, you might think, oh, I will just build a claw deck and spam zero-cost cards. And yes, claw builds can be surprisingly straightforward and very powerful with the right support. But that is only one slice of what this character offers. The real complexity of the Defect comes from orb management. You are not just playing cards each turn, you are constantly channeling, evoking, and replacing orbs, while tracking passive effects and timing your bursts correctly. It is less about brute force and more about controlled resource juggling. Each orb type adds a new layer of decision making. Lightning orbs passively damage enemies at the end of your turn, giving you steady pressure without additional effort, and when evoked, they can deliver a focused burst to finish off a threat. Frost orbs primarily grant block, helping you stabilize, but with Hailstorm, every frost orb you channel also damages all enemies, turning defense into offense. Glass orbs shine in multi-enemy encounters, dealing area damage that clears waves efficiently, though they lose some value against single bosses. Then you have dark orbs, which wait patiently and strike the lowest health enemy when evoked, making them perfect for eliminating priority targets at just the right moment. And then there is the zero cost engine. Cards like Claw scale throughout the fight, becoming stronger the more you use them. Feral allows you to play zero cost cards twice, dramatically increasing your output. And All for One pulls every zero cost card from your discard pile back into your hand for explosive combo turns. The challenge is that you are often balancing orb slots, power cards, skill timing, and hand management all at once. When it clicks, the Defect feels incredibly rewarding and creative, but until you fully understand how the pieces interact, it can easily feel like you are spinning plates while the enemies are trying to knock them down. The region is the definition of high risk, high reward. Out of all the hardest playable characters in Slay the Spire 2, he might be the one that punishes mistakes the most. When things go well, he absolutely demolishes encounters. You can walk into a room and delete enemies before they even get a proper turn. But when things go wrong, they go very wrong. He is a true glass cannon. His damage ceiling is absurd. Yet his ability to survive incoming pressure is limited, which means every decision matters. Sovereign Blade builds showcase his explosive side. With the right setup, you can stack outrageous amounts of damage into a single devastating strike. The issue is that these builds can be slow to scale, and if you do not find the right support, you might fall behind early. Cards like Refined Blade, Furnace, and Summon Forth are crucial for sustaining that momentum and keeping your damage relevant. It is not just about hitting hard, it is about building toward that massive hit without collapsing under enemy pressure before you get there. Then you have star builds, which are even more demanding you. Gather Light is essential because it generates both block and stars, letting you defend while preparing for future turns. Solar Strike keeps your damage output consistent, helping you pass strict damage per turn checks. Crescent Spear rewards you for committing to star spending cards, scaling into one of the most efficient attacks in his kit. But it requires careful star management. Particle Wall can provide ongoing defense as long as you have stars available, creating tense moments where you must choose between offense and survival, and that tension defines the Regent. Royal Gambit can grant at least 9 stars, which sounds incredible, but you must carefully decide whether gaining that resource spike is worth sacrificing tempo. 7 stars is devastating against all enemies, yet it demands 2 energy and 7 stars, making it a serious investment. Every turn feels like a calculated gamble. With the Regent, perfection is not optional. One miscalculation, one greedy play, and the entire battle can spiral out of control. That razor-thin margin for error is exactly why he stands among the most difficult characters to master. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.